Imagine waking up on Earth, not today, not even thousands of years ago, but 66 million years in the past. The world looks completely different. Towering forests stretch as far as the eye can see, strange reptiles glide overhead, and massive creatures roam the land. Some are as small as chickens, while others are longer than a school bus. For over 160 million years, these animals had ruled the planet, and nothing seemed capable of stopping them. Then everything fell apart. A disaster unlike anything Earth had ever experienced unfolded with terrifying speed. The sky caught fire, the oceans rose into monstrous waves, and the ground shook so violently that entire landscapes collapsed. Darkness swallowed the planet. And in the blink of an eye, geologically speaking, around 75% of all species vanished forever, including almost every non-avian dinosaur. For generations, the story seemed simple: an asteroid hit Earth, the dinosaurs died, mystery solved. But science is rarely that tidy. The more researchers studied the evidence, the stranger the story became. What if the asteroid wasn't acting alone? What if Earth was already becoming a dangerous place before the impact? And how do scientists know what happened when nobody was there to witness it? To answer those questions, we have to travel back to a world unlike anything humans have ever seen. Long before humans built cities, and long before mammals ruled the planet, Earth belonged to the dinosaurs. Their story began around 230 million years ago, in a time known as the Triassic period. Surprisingly, the first dinosaurs weren't giant monsters. Many were small, some no taller than a person, and they lived alongside other reptiles, constantly competing for food and survival. At first, there was nothing to suggest they would become the most successful land animals in Earth's history. But over millions of years, the planet transformed. Continents drifted apart, new coastlines appeared, mountain ranges rose, and vast forests spread across the land. And the dinosaurs adapted to almost every environment imaginable. Some evolved into enormous plant eaters with necks long enough to reach the tops of ancient trees. Others became fast, intelligent hunters armed with razor-sharp teeth and powerful claws. There were armored dinosaurs covered in protective plates, horned dinosaurs that could fend off predators, and duck-billed dinosaurs that traveled in massive herds. There were tiny feathered dinosaurs no larger than pigeons, and terrifying giants like Tyrannosaurus rex, one of the largest land predators ever to walk the earth. Dense forests, open plains, river valleys, deserts, wherever you traveled, there was probably a dinosaur perfectly suited to live there. For more than 160 million years, they survived shifting climates, volcanic eruptions, drifting continents, and countless natural disasters. To grasp how long that is, consider this: modern humans have existed for only about 300,000 years. Dinosaurs ruled for more than 500 times longer than our entire species has existed. Imagine an empire outlasting every civilization in human history combined, then multiply that by hundreds. That's how successful they were, which is exactly what makes the next part so hard to believe. It began far beyond Earth. Somewhere within the solar system, a giant asteroid drifted silently through space. It wasn't glowing, and it wasn't on fire, because in space, there's almost nothing to burn. It simply moved through the darkness, following the laws of gravity. Scientists estimate it measured somewhere between 10 and 15 kilometers across. To put that in perspective, if you stood on one end, the other end would be too far to see clearly. It was, essentially, a mountain flying through space. And it wasn't drifting lazily, it was traveling at roughly 20 kilometers every second, around 72,000 kilometers per hour. That is fast enough to cross the entire United States in just a few minutes. For millions of years, its journey went unnoticed. Then Earth crossed its path. There was no warning, no way to stop it, and no chance to change course. About 66 million years ago, the asteroid slammed into what is now the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. The impact itself lasted less than a second, but the energy released was almost beyond imagination. Scientists estimate it was the equivalent of billions of Hiroshima-sized atomic bombs detonating at once. The rock didn't simply hit the ground, it punched through Earth's crust. Surrounding rock instantly vaporized, temperatures briefly climbed hotter than the surface of the sun, and a crater nearly 180 kilometers wide formed almost instantly. That scar still exists today, buried beneath the Yucatan. It's called the Chicxulub crater, and it remains one of the most important pieces of evidence in solving the dinosaur mystery. But here's the strange part: the crater itself wasn't what killed most dinosaurs. The real danger came from everything that happened next. The explosion launched trillions of tons of rock into the atmosphere. Some of this debris escaped into space, but much of it eventually rained back down. As those fragments re-entered the atmosphere, they heated up, and across the entire planet, the sky itself began to glow. Forests ignited, grasslands erupted into flame, and wildfires spread across continents. Animals that survived the initial blast suddenly found themselves trapped in a spreading inferno. Meanwhile, a colossal shockwave raced outward from the impact site faster than the speed of sound. Everything in its path was flattened. Trees snapped like matchsticks, hillsides collapsed, and entire ecosystems were erased within minutes. Then came the earthquakes, releasing seismic waves so powerful they likely dwarfed anything recorded in human history. And because the impact zone bordered the ocean, it unleashed one more catastrophe, a tsunami unlike anything our planet has ever seen. Walls of water surged across the seas and swept away everything in their path when they reached the coastlines. Fires, earthquakes, tsunamis, any one of these would have been devastating. But none of them was the true reason the dinosaurs disappeared. The real killer was something far less dramatic, something invisible, and it changed Earth's climate almost overnight. Tiny particles of dust, pulverized rock, ash, and vaporized sulfur were blasted high into the atmosphere. Unlike ordinary clouds, these didn't clear after a few days. They wrapped around the entire planet. Soon a thick veil of debris surrounded Earth, and sunlight could barely reach the surface. Day looked like twilight. Temperatures dropped sharply. Scientists call this an impact winter. Without sunlight, plants couldn't perform photosynthesis. The forests that had survived the fires slowly began to die. Leaves withered, grasslands vanished, and food became desperately scarce. The giant plant eaters were the first to suffer. Creatures that needed hundreds of kilograms of vegetation every single day suddenly had almost nothing to eat. As the herbivores died, the predators followed. Even the mighty Tyrannosaurus rex couldn't hunt if there was no prey left alive. Within months, entire food chains collapsed. The strongest animals on Earth weren't defeated by another predator, they simply ran out of food. It was a slow, merciless, planet-wide famine. The oceans suffered too. Tiny plankton near the surface depended on sunlight just as much as plants on land. When they died, the creatures that fed on them disappeared, and then the hunters that fed on those creatures began to starve. Life beneath the waves collapsed from the bottom up. Earth had endured mass extinctions before, but this one was different. It wasn't a single disaster, it was a chain reaction, each catastrophe triggering the next: impact, fire, darkness, cold, starvation, extinction. It seemed the mystery was finally solved. The asteroid hit, life collapsed, case closed. Except scientists kept finding clues that didn't quite fit. And those clues led them to a second catastrophe, one that had been unfolding long before the asteroid ever arrived. Millions of years before the impact, something extraordinary was happening on the opposite side of the planet. In what is now India, the Earth itself was splitting open. This wasn't one volcanic eruption. It was thousands of them, spread across hundreds of thousands of years. Lava poured across the landscape again and again, until more than 1 million cubic kilometers of molten rock had buried the region. Today these ancient flows are known as the Deccan Traps. Some individual lava layers are dozens of meters thick, and stacked together they form one of the largest volcanic provinces on Earth. But the lava wasn't the biggest danger. Every eruption pumped enormous amounts of carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and other gases into the atmosphere. Over time, these gases pushed Earth's climate back and forth, causing alternating intervals of warming and cooling. Either way, life was already under stress. Forests changed, sea levels fluctuated, habitats shifted, and ecosystems grew less stable. And then the asteroid arrived. Imagine someone recovering from a serious illness, only to be hit by a speeding truck. That's one way scientists describe what happened to the dinosaurs. The volcanoes weakened the planet, and the asteroid delivered the final blow. For decades, scientists argued fiercely over which disaster was truly responsible. Was it the volcanoes, or the asteroid? Entire careers were built on the question. Research papers challenged one another, and new evidence appeared almost every year. The breakthrough came not from dinosaur bones, but from the rocks themselves. Geologists read layers of rock like pages in an ancient book, and near the boundary where the dinosaurs vanished, they found something odd: a thin layer of clay. At first it seemed unremarkable, but chemical analysis revealed that the clay was unusually rich in iridium, a metal that's rare in Earth's crust but relatively common inside asteroids. And this iridium layer wasn't confined to one place. It appeared all over the world, including North America, Europe, Asia, Africa, and even Antarctica, at exactly the same point in Earth's history. It was as if the entire planet had been dusted with material from outer space. Then came more evidence. Using satellite images and underground surveys, scientists located the enormous buried crater beneath the Yucatan. Its age matched the extinction almost perfectly, and its size matched the predictions. Tiny grains of shocked quartz, a mineral that forms only under unimaginable pressure, turned up around the globe. So did glass droplets created by the impact, scattered thousands of kilometers from the crater. One by one, the clues pointed to the same conclusion: an asteroid really had struck Earth, and it struck at exactly the right moment. Today, most scientists agree the asteroid was the primary cause of the extinction, but many also believe the Deccan eruptions left Earth's ecosystems more vulnerable beforehand. The two explanations may not be rivals at all. They may be parts of the same story. The volcanoes weakened life, and the asteroid finished the job. If 3 out of every 4 species disappeared, how did anything make it through? A lot came down to size. Large dinosaurs needed enormous amounts of food every day, and when the forests died, they had nowhere to turn. Small animals needed far less. Many scraped by on seeds, roots, insects, or the dead plants and animals left behind by the catastrophe. Some mammals sheltered underground in burrows, shielded from the worst of the fires and the cold that followed. Others were active at night, where darkness was already their home. Crocodiles survived in rivers and lakes, where temperatures changed more slowly than on land, and their slow metabolism let them go long stretches without eating. Turtles found safety underwater. Fish persisted in deep lakes and rivers. Insects, already among the toughest creatures on Earth, simply outlasted the disaster. And then there were the birds. It may sound strange, but birds are living dinosaurs. The evidence is clear. They evolved from a group of small, feathered dinosaurs millions of years before the asteroid struck. When nearly every other dinosaur vanished, a handful of these feathered survivors held on. Over the following millions of years, they diversified into the more than 11,000 bird species alive today. So in a very real sense, the dinosaurs never completely went extinct. Every pigeon, every eagle, every penguin, and every chicken carries a piece of that ancient legacy. The age of dinosaurs ended, but it never entirely disappeared. With the giant reptiles gone, the world suddenly filled with opportunity. For millions of years, small mammals had lived in the shadows. Most were no bigger than rats, hunting insects, climbing trees, or hiding underground to avoid becoming someone's meal. Now the largest predators were gone. Forests recovered, plants returned, and new ecosystems took shape. Surviving mammals spread into habitats once ruled by dinosaurs. Some became fast runners. Some became powerful predators. Some returned to the oceans, and some learned to fly. Over the next 66 million years, those tiny survivors gave rise to whales, elephants, cats, dogs, primates, and eventually, us. Every human alive today exists because those small mammals made it through one of Earth's greatest disasters. If they hadn't, our story might never have begun. Which brings us to one final question: what if the asteroid had missed? It's one of the most fascinating what-ifs in all of science. No one knows for certain, but many researchers believe the dinosaurs would have kept dominating the planet for millions of years more. Mammals might have stayed small, hidden, and unimportant. Large primates might never have evolved. Intelligent humans might never have appeared. Our cities, our technology, our civilizations, everything we've ever built might never have existed. Of course, evolution is unpredictable. Perhaps another intelligent species would eventually have emerged, maybe even a descendant of the dinosaurs themselves. Or perhaps Earth would still belong to giant reptiles today. We'll never know. But one thing is almost certain: that single asteroid changed the direction of life forever. It didn't just end one world, it created another. The story of the dinosaurs isn't really about extinction, it's about change. For over 160 million years, dinosaurs ruled the Earth with extraordinary success. They outlasted eruptions, shifting climates, moving continents, and countless natural disasters. Yet even the most successful animals in history couldn't survive when multiple catastrophes struck at once: an enormous asteroid, global wildfires, towering tsunamis, months of darkness, a collapsing food chain, and perhaps a planet already weakened by volcanic fire. But extinction wasn't the end of everything. From the ashes of that ancient world, new life emerged. Mammals flourished, forests regrew, and birds carried the dinosaur bloodline into the modern age. And after millions of years of evolution, a curious species appeared, one capable of uncovering the story hidden inside ancient rocks. A species capable of finding a buried crater, reading microscopic layers of clay, and piecing together a mystery that began 66 million years ago. We tend to think of ourselves as completely separate from the age of dinosaurs. But the truth is, our existence is one of its final chapters. Because if that asteroid had missed Earth by even a few minutes, you probably wouldn't be here at all. The dinosaurs didn't just leave behind fossils. They left behind the world that made us possible.